to, okay, not all of us, but majority of us went to online, I saw the same mistakes. And yes, that's what I'm going to share with you right now. So let's focus. Fails, mistakes, drama, crisis, what can go wrong? And this is kind of my small chart I prepared on my window, especially for today's session. So it's kind of very brief overview, dear ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we can go in details, but I will do my best to create a system of understanding how I see those mistakes and what I'm putting my attention at during preparation of online events. So, fails. I see 3 typical types of fails that you can find in your event and you can actually prevent at your event. First, visual fails. Second, communication fails. And third, technical fails. Visual, communicational, and technical. Let me please do not start with first one because it's so obvious and so interesting and so long, and I have kind of 6 hours training session about the ways how to provide online events, about visual approach. But let's focus on some basic ideas of communicational mistakes. 2 typical types of communicational mistakes you can deal with during your event. You can deal with as an expert, you can deal with as an organizer of event, as an event host. The voice of your speakers, of experts, of participants, your personal voice. So voice get tired, voice can be developed. So for example, Damien has perfect, amazing professional voice, professional English, level of English, and that's great. Good to him, but not everybody of us have this experience, and especially your experts. You see, this kind of very typical, symptomatical moment when we, like approximately a year ago, when this pandemic started and all the activity went online, and people, even great event participants, experts, great presenters, performers, showmakers, who had really huge experience of talking on stage, of communicating with the audience, of providing the lectures and so on, they started to do it. I call it actually the pajama syndrome. So they started to do it in pajamas at home from their own place they live at. And you see, that's actually the issue. The more skilled are you, please think about your skill, your experience. The more years of experience do you have, the more probable, the more likely you can get into this trap of pajama syndrome. Why? Why it happens with us, with experts? Because expert has very strong, very good, working really well program in subconscious mind. So experts, when they go to the stage, they switch on this like stage type of behavior, stage pattern of behavior. But the problem is when they go out of the stage, when they go home, they need to rest, they need to regenerate their power. So they just switch absolutely off all this stage behavior, stage way, stage pattern of behavior, and they go into home, like household pattern. So they're relaxed and so on. And as a result, during your online event, when those people providing, say, like lectures, talks, or presentations from home, for their subconscious mind and conscious mind, it's really difficult. Their mind confused a little bit, like blending everything, blending this pajama mood, this pajama mode, I would say, mood and mode, yes, at the same time, with the professional mode. That is why they can make some mistakes, and actually I will show you some examples of mistakes really soon. So pajama syndrome, by the way, we'll talk about pajama maybe one more time in a very interesting way in 5 to 7 minutes approximately. So let's come back. One of symptoms of this pajama syndrome is not so well developed not so well warmed up voice. So remember, your voice should be beautiful, should be professional during the stage. So if you know how to work with your voice, okay. If you don't know how to work with your voice, you have a great possibility to learn this beautiful science, to go to like vocal instructors, singing instructors, to go to choir and train your voice. And that's really great idea. Or go to acting school and again train your voice. And that's really great idea. But if you have already trained everything, if you know how to work with your voice, always remember to warm up, to practice some tongue twisters, and if you're just an organizer, if you're kind of host of event, make your speakers check them. How good are they in warming up their voice in advance before starting their speech? In warming up this like articulation system, all those tongue and cheeks and throat and everything. So your voice. Next one, actually, the tongue twisters. So this great possibility to, like, okay, possibly again, the more professional you are, the better you know that there are people who speak approximately this way, so they just don't open their mouth, and anyway, when they do it on the street, everybody can understand them. And there are some other people who can open their mouth, who speak with like warmed up system, with warm up tongue and everything. So second idea, propose your speakers, your experts, and propose to yourself some tongue twisters in the language they're going to use, in the language they're going to speak in. For example, Polish tongue twisters for me is something incredibly difficult. So I don't even try. Okay, I tried once some of them, and it was like really complicated for me. So so far I can only like train some English ones, and of course in my native languages too. Good. That's basically it. We can go to some details later on if we have some time, but now let's go to latest position, the technical errors or technical failures. Well, again, I can spend hours telling you horrible stories about typical technical errors people encourage people to face it when microphones, presentations, of course, you know all this stuff. So basic idea, just to summarize all this experience, if I want to say it in a few seconds. The check loop. What does it mean? Check if everything okay, and if you think it is, check it again. And if you think it is okay, check it again on new level. If you think it is okay, it works perfectly, check it again, and so on and so forth. So repeat this check loop more and more times. Never allow yourself to be lazy. So it sounds so obvious anyway. More than approximately, like in my experience, just like evaluation from my personal experience, more than 60% of TEDx speakers I have seen errors of, or mistake failures of, or fails of. More than 60% of artists who failed mostly failed because of technical issues, because they just couldn't put enough attention on some easy preventable technical details, nuances, and so on. Somebody was like too lazy, maybe too busy, too overloaded, or too tired. And yes, next idea is just very big, beautiful, and important question to yourself that you can ask anytime, again, during this loop or in additional to this loop. WCGW, very easy to remember. What can go wrong? What more can go wrong? So if you have perfect presentation, if you have like checked electricity and so on and so forth, what can happen if there is a volcano just below your event venue, or the water flood, and you covered with water? What can go wrong? What can you do with that? Please prepare like reserved plan B, plan C, plan D, plan E, and so on for any possible events. Good, thank you very much. And now let's finally jump to the biggest column on this chart, the column of visual, possibilities to make beautiful picture or to fail the beautiful picture. First one, the amount of light. You see how dark is my face right now. And possibly now you can see my face in a little bit better way. That's how I use the light. And of course, I do it at my home, so there are kind of some local small table lamps and so on. So I just prefer to put your attention more on this chart than on my face. But remember, if you have window or your expert has window behind their back, they are dark silhouettes, so just dark frames. If you have light right in front of the face, the face became really flat. If you use this energy-saving lamps, very cheap and very good for ecology, you have your faces, our faces of your experts, more dark, more gray, more like blue sometimes. So think more. The best light is always not so bright day light of the sun. So think about light, and of course you can find a lot about light. You can Google, you can check any sources, and by the way, if you would like to, you can also have a look at my 1 hour training dedicated. Okay, so far I don't see the possibility to share this link with you. Maybe I can do it later, no problems. Well, let's go further. Next point, so it was the light issues. Next one, the costume. How will you look like? Which image of yourself will you create with your costume? Will it be kind of so old and so lovely sweater, so covered with holes and so on? So like, it's up to you. So think about the costume, even working with from your home, even working at your place where you live, where you sleep, where you cook, because yeah, again, be aware of pyjama syndrome. Yes, talking about the pyjama syndrome. This is kind of really good example of pyjama syndrome. Yes, I have my pyjama with me right now. This is kind of an example. I decided to show it to you to make you smile a bit. And yeah, so because I'm at home. Yes, because there is coronavirus lockdown. So yeah, we all on the same boat. Let's go. So think about costume, think carefully, and think fully. Yes, so I just recreated very typical mistake when only upper part of costume fits to the event and lower part is kind of pyjama part. So you see how it looked like, and you will see even more detailed way. Next one, the moire. Moire is the way when you have very small pattern, like tiny pattern, like very small circles, very small, maybe squares or lines on your costume, and your camera also have those kind of square pattern of metrics of taking the image, and those two matrices became to overlap somehow, and you see those beautiful, bright, and actually all awful spots on a costume of yourself or of your expert. So think about the moire and think about the size of. So of course, it's always better to have plain, not so bright costume for your speech. Next one, the body language, the size of your body, how big scale of your picture you can use. Typical mistake when people providing the online calls, they just doing it approximately the way I'm showing right now. So they're watching at the screen, the camera watching from above at the forehead. So nobody can, and of course they're just talking head. So nobody, nothing like that. So blah, 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 blah. And that's, as psychologist from South Park, the movie said, that's bad, okay? So make yourself enough space to be visible, at least from the belly button level approximately, and allow yourself to gesticulate on all the length of your arms, so to use all the scale. And of course, leave approximately 2 to 3 centimeters above your head when you stay on average distance between you and camera. That's it about the view of your body. Good. Next one, jewelry. Jewelry attracts the attention. So what kind of jewelry, how much jewelry will you use? I usually recommend speakers on TED, on online events, like managers of IT companies, to remove all possible jewelry. Of course, there is kind of sexist society sometimes, and some specific genders prefer and have kind of social right to put on more jewelry. So maybe you agree with this idea. So, okay, and if your audience agree with this idea too, so go on. But do not allow your jewelry be the main actor on the stage. Please be the main actor yourself. So jewelry should just highlight you, but do not be brighter than you yourself. That's it. Next one, the background. Background you use for your speech, for your online event, or background your expert use. So ask your experts while preparing, while having those preliminary talks, meetings with them, to show which background will be behind their back. So I prefer not to show, for example, these parts of my flat. Yes, I used two types of background, even not that one. Yeah, this plain gray wall, and of course the structure, this pattern I prepared for you. So you can do something like that, or even better. And again, when you see Damien again, please look at how beautiful background behind his back. Yeah, that's professional approach, and you can create this professional approach. You can realize this professional approach at your place, at your home. Well, what else? Finally, do not be stupid, and do not be dully. So dulliness check. Which mistakes could you make? And talking about those mistakes, let me please share with you just few samples, just very simple samples of mistakes that was made by, let's say, respected speakers, people. So you possibly already can see my screen, a set of short videos. The potato boss, you can Google what is potato boss. So this is kind of small piece of official meeting, online meeting, when the guy just couldn't switch off this potato mode of the tool he used. And of course, very famous video when there was very respected, well-looking expert online, like on the air, and his kids just came to him. So do not forget to lock the door of your room, of your official room. You see, the background behind this guy is really beautiful. Some books on a bed, some beautiful maps, some bookshelves. So perfect, absolutely perfect, even better. So it's visible that it goes from home, but anyway, so intelligent, full of information, and so on and so forth. But you see, this lady, those two kids, it's obvious, but it's not so good for the reputation sometimes. Let's go next. Pretty fun. I like this video. Yes, again, one more respected guy with very beautiful background, and something will appear. Let me please jump a little bit forward and a little bit forward. Something will change in a second that will make the atmosphere much easier. Yeah, that's it. So think about it and about the image of yourself and maybe of your speakers, of your expert during your online event. So that's it. Let's go to next one. Yes, guy who is, I suppose, new speaker, and you see this part. Yeah, it's kind of comment for this guy. So he just doing this official again on the air, officially on the TV, and he's just doing it without his pants. And when this title on the bottom disappeared at the end, everybody can see his legs. Let's watch it again. Let's find this moment. Yes, that's it. And let's go to the next one. The most interesting, the most shocking. Yes, again, this guy is sport speaker, commentator of sport matches, and there is a nude naked lady behind his back. So it's kind of very dull, very stupid, I would say, error that could be easily prevented. Just turn 90 degrees to left or right, and that would be okay. By the way, this lady is not a wife, but his lover, as far as I remember. And finally, just small set of other mistakes, errors. We will not watch it till the end. I will show you possibly few, maybe few seconds, okay? By the way, one more interesting thing. So I'm almost done about the case we're discussing. So very interesting thing is your reaction. I mean, how do you look like after realizing that this is something bad is going on? So yeah, possibly that's enough with sharing. Good, and let's recap a bit. My time is almost over. So three main basic types of fails: visual picture fails, communicational fails, and technical fails. Technical fails: check it, loop, check it again, and even more deeper and even more deeper. What can go wrong? Ask yourself again and again and prevent this possible going wrong situation. About the communication, okay. Interaction, but I'm not possibly the one who can teach you how to interact with the audience. Very important. Your voice, tongue twisters, and interact with the audience. Remember about the attention span. And finally, visual fails. Picture, so the light, the costume of hero of the character. Moire, so the overlapping of different small patterns one to another. The size of your body, the scale, the frame, the body language, how visible your body is. Finally, jewelry. Do not allow your jewelry to be brighter than yourself. The background behind your back, how it looks like, what will you show to the audience by your background. And finally, any stupid mistakes that you can find in some kind of videos in YouTube, like best online conferences fails, or online coronavirus events fails, and so on and so forth. Well, dear friends, technically that's it from my side. Sorry, I took 1 minute more than I supposed to. So, Damien, if you can hear me, or yep.
Oh, are we on yet? Oh my God.
Wake up.
This is something that we would consider a fail. Aliaksej, could you please come back to your chart for a second? Please do. Just for a second to your chart.
Yes, for sure. Please.
Tell me, is this my face on the visual fail down? This is my face, isn't it?
Well,
on the
maybe
visual
not
fails.
now, but I'm not 100%
It can be.
sure.
I have to tell you one thing. I remember when I studied English, one of my teachers spent hours with us practicing pronunciation. I remember repeating like, Sleepy Frida, 6 slippers size 6 to fit her feet. Or for example, Cuthbert puts mustard in his mother's custard. So that's a very good exercise to practice pronunciation, not only in English. Aliaksej, as we all know, I mean, things happen, but what is the most important thing to do after something happens? What is the best way to avoid damage control? Or maybe let's concentrate on damage control.
Well, are we talking about online events or
yes,
offline events?
Yeah, for example, because there are some things, for example, like connection fails or things like that we cannot do anything about it. These things happen. But if we see someone, if we have online presentation and we have our fiancé, for example, let's hope and pray this is our fiancé, passing behind us in the negligee, for example, how should we react? I think, first of all, we shouldn't allow this to happen, but how can we react after that?
Well, some situations can be overcome by just ignoring it. So in some specific cases, people won't notice that something is happening if you will not notice that. So just keeping your this poker face as this guy with naked woman behind is one of ways to behave. Anyway, like if it goes online, if it goes to YouTube, somebody will find it, somebody will make it viral. So it's not always the case. So first one possible option, to ignore. Second possible option is to explain and make this something that happened, transform it into a tool, into a way to reach your goal. like transform it into an example. Imagine, like, for example, kind of genius, let's say, professor in the university, and he's providing his lecture, and at one specific moment, just the glass like breaks and cold bean starts like weaving inside the whole room, and he just switching to explain. You see, this is just result of those physical processes we are just learning right now. So very practical, physical examples everybody can feel on their skin. But of course, it's a beautiful example, artificial example I created right now from your head, but skilled, experienced speaker, trainer, entrepreneur can transform majority of possible cases into specific examples of what is this speaker talking about. Well,
to be quite frank, I absolutely love the first idea that if you don't address something, maybe it will disappear. Do you know that sometimes kids, for example, cover their eyes and they think that if they don't see anyone, they're also invisible?
But on the, you're right, yes, it sounds a little bit funny, but on the other hand, sometimes your audience just doesn't know what should happen behind your back. So for example, if you're doing it just on the street, it's not you who are responsible for people passing behind your back. Even providing like kind of public event from public place, like anything can happen behind the back. It's not your fault technically, yeah. So sometimes you can ignore it, but of course, one of best ways I would say is to know your goal of your communicating with the audience, with your like listeners, whoever, and whatever is happening, to make this as one additional tool, one additional step for you and your audience to reach this goal. It's kind of genius approach. Not everybody can improvise this way, but the more experience you have, the more fails you survived, the easier for you to do that. And again, coming to the very first idea, remember to keep this poker face. So keep calm, keep self-confident. Even if something happening behind your back and you're going to tell about it, just continue like dealing with that. Even if it's visible that it's like the fail and all those kids running and dropping the books, continue, smile, maybe say sorry and go on.
I have to tell you, like, one of my favorites is this guy, this TV professional expert who didn't lock his door, and the kids came in marching in. And what I absolutely loved was this constipated look on his face, together with his hand trying to give signal, like, just leave. And these things happen, but we can also, first of all, we have to think before they happen, because this way we'll be able. The first conversation, the first speaker I had was Simon, who said that what he expects in greatest entrepreneur, but it also can be quoted when it comes to great event specialist, is that to see a problem and solve it in spite of everyone telling you that it didn't need solving.
Yes.
So that's perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. And talking about this speaker, by the way, who forgot to lock his door, his mistake, from my point of view, kind of, if we go into this like ant loving and find some typical like minimal details, like minor details, his mistake was this like movement of his hand. So this movement was panic movement. So if he wouldn't do this movement with his hand, if he just continue, it would look even much better from my point of view as public speaking trainer. So
I don't know if you know that, but this TV presenter who was presenting news pantless made quite a big career later. I think he was invited to many day shows. So sometimes it is a way to get recognized, basically, and to appear in the media. Very brief last question. Why do you think the artificial light is not recommended when we deal with virtual events?
Several reasons. First of all, not any, but majority of artificial energy-saving lamps, they produce just sparks, 100 sparks per second, 2 times more than the frequency of electricity in your electric plug. And It even can create this moire with the frequency of camera shots. You filming yourself or your computer filming you. And well, first one. Second one, almost any artificial light produce very limited range of frequencies of light. Not all the range from visible as like sun produce, but just some specific range. So if you have very expensive professional light, possibly around you, Damien, right now, some professional big lamps. So it's much better than like cheap lamps around me, of course. Anyway, the more expensive, the better. But the most expensive lamp in our and more like valuable lamp in our life is, of course, the sun that we cannot see behind my window right now because it's just night in Poland. So sunlight, I mean, not strict, not clear sky, but a little bit cloudy, a bit cloudy day, or maybe not strict sunlight into your room, one of best options always.
Thank you very much for appreciating the lighting here, because actually it's just one bike light and Nicholas is pedaling to keep me basically well visible. Thank you once again, Aliaksej. I just have to tell you that we have very positive feedback from Monica, very energetic speech from Lucas. Yes, so once again, thank you very much for being here with us, for first of all for getting us a bit entertained, but also for selling us loads of very useful information. Once again, thank you very much.
And thank you very much for this great possibility. All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have an amazing evening. All right, as you all see, different things may happen when we create a virtual event. I mean, they also happened when the events were normal, but right now they can go further. They can be broadcasted all around the world. So, but the question is right now, how long we'll have to, or we'll be able to create virtual events? Because this is quite unusual for us